Hello friends, I am Gaurav, and as we have all come to believe, we are probably the most advanced civilization in the world. We have started loving all the exoplanets till date. We have done it. We are probably also the only intelligent life form in this entire universe. But what if those advanced civilizations that future people are catching up to, some people do the same to us, they existed as well? This is the Silurian hypothesis proposed by Gavin Schmidt and Adam Frank in 2019. Do you make videos here? That we are in the search of our advanced civilizations. How ignorant and self-obsessed are we becoming? We just assume that civilizations from the past could never have been so advanced, and therefore, no one even wants to consider the possibility that the fossil records of ancient advanced civilizations might be the fossil records of those ancient advanced civilizations. Even the unnoticed can have significant impacts. I mean, just imagine if one day our entire human civilization were to vanish due to a pandemic, a natural disaster, or any such reason. In 100 to 200 million years from now, what are the chances that advanced civilizations born after us will even know about our existence? Or were we an advanced civilization? Would they be able to believe that? Now I know many people will say that humans have built such large-scale man-made mega structures. We have left our mark on the world with complex machines, non-biodegradable plastics. Eventually someone has to find us as fossils. And proof of advancement will be found. She is not eager to see you. You see, dinosaurs had ruled this earth for more than 150 million years, and considering all species together, they are roaming the earth in at least trillions. Yet their complete fossils are almost as big as a snake to us. From its edges, Israel's Negev desert remains the only such large-scale exposed land surface left. Who ate at least 1.8 million years. Its long history surpasses all other ancient land surfaces that exist today for exploration. They are buried deep in the layers of the earth. Now in such cases, let's say by chance, if a minor ancient surface emerges due to further tectonic shifting, rice cultivation also increases. Yet another reason that emerges is that fossilization is an extremely rare phenomenon. A common person might also think that fossilization or fossils are very common. Any dead remains become fossilized though, but it doesn't happen this way. Just think. Living in the late Cretaceous period 66 to 70 million years ago. Their number is around 2.5 billion. And they completed at least 170,000 generations before their extinction. 127,000. But despite being so successful, having such thick bones and teeth, and being so numerous, can you guess how many fossils of them we have found to date? Sweetheart, I'm not even kidding, meaning out of every 80 million T-Rex, there is one T-Rex. The fossilization of Tyrannosaurus Rex occurred, besides fossils, studying the different layers beneath the earth, ancient ice-trapped water and air, and the movements of tectonic plates has also taken us back in time. It will also rot the history of Earth. But fossils are made from organic things after all, which basically involve carbon and bones, like organic materials being converted into fossils. Very specific conditions are required for this, and what are the chances that we find fossils of a civilization from 100 million years ago, and they just might. Now friends, coming back to the topic, and if we think about the same thing from a different perspective, so 100 million years from now, future archaeologists might find our fossils. Because even though our total population is soon going to touch 8 million, we have only used 14.6% of the land. So far you have modified it through your infrastructure or agricultural practices, which is just around 18.5 million square kilometers, just slightly bigger than lions. And on top of that, our organic materials like teeth and bones are not that thick, that they survive degradation for 100 to 200 million years. And as for the time span of our presence on this earth, then we just come to Earth and do it. It's only been 3 million years, and the technological advancements and plastics we're talking about, all of this happened in even less time, just recently. Think 3 times the site. Meaning you're putting everything into perspective from today to 100 to 200 million years later, inquiring among all Earth's crustal solar layers. Our existence is direct evidence. The world can almost go unnoticed in just a few centimeters for viewing. If we only look at the fossil record tomorrow, 100 to 200 million years from now, we wouldn't exist. Whatever civilizations will discover the fossils, which will prove our existence to future archaeologists. No direct method though. How? Well, actually since the mid-18th century, humans have released about half a ton of carbon into the air and water through machines as fossil fuels. And this is greatly diluted, but fuels, they generate electricity. Because yes, our Earth has played on the global scale due to natural reasons like volcanic eruptions several times throughout its entire lifespan. Periodically experiences akin to volcanic eruptions which release gases like carbon dioxide, the viscous aspody upon with a heavier isotope of carbon. Carbon-13 is present, so it's not because fossil fuels were burned to produce carbon dioxide. Because living organisms prefer the lighter isotope of carbon. It's easier to absorb and therefore also in the fossil fuels derived from them. Primarily it is carbon-12. To live well, you need to live well. When have there been sudden global warming events before? But estimating this timeline will require digging up ancient ice cores made during that era and finding a Javash trapped in those ice cores. Bubbles need to be chemically stabilized. If the C13 to C12 ratio is right there in front of them, in those air bubbles, how greenhouses have increased due to them, so it means clearly at that particular timeline, fossil fuels were responsible for global warming, not natural causes. If you have all that sorted out, but how will you determine the timeline for global warming? The way the ancient winds tell us about man-made global warming estimates, similarly the estimates of its timeline are given to us by ancient water and the creatures swimming in it. Because after carbon isotopes have taken many times from ancient history, the story involves two stable isotopes of oxygen, sponge and gone isotope, where Tesamus and Bedansa, they also play a big role, and their record is being printed in the form of stripes or striations on the shell of ancient oysters. During heavy rains, rivers cause a lot of fresh soil sediments and minerals to be deposited in the oceans. Gedutan dataste resotente. This results in more space between two successive growth strips. Now, if the concentration of oxygen-18 in these shells, calcium carbonate, is found to be high, it means that during that period there was global warming and extreme weather conditions. That was a common point. Because O16 and O18 atoms are present in the environment more or less proportionally, just during global warming, light O16 evaporates more readily from the atmosphere, and oysters are forced to incorporate heavier oxygen isotopes into their calcium carbonate shells. But wait a minute, will just this much data be enough in the future to prove the existence of an advanced civilization? Well, See, in scientific studies, there's no such thing as enough, because every extra piece of information helps in transitioning a hypothesis to a theory, and a theory to its predictive and mathematical implications. And if this makes us happy, then and creates an unusual sedimentological record, because every advancing civilization leaves its mark in countless sediment layers. It leaves a unique imprint and focuses solely on our future generations. For instance, the excessive use of artificial fertilizers, which are heavily laden with nitrogen, is known for diminishing rainfall. This excess nitrogen starts dissolving in coastal waters, significantly increasing microbial activity there. As a result, bacteria and fungi proliferate in those water bodies to such an extent that the dissolved oxygen essential for other life forms gets depleted. This leaves none behind, turning those areas into dead zones. This condition is also called hypoxia, meaning low oxygen, or anoxia, meaning no oxygen. Presently, the Gulf of Mexico's coastal area is a perfect example of this phenomenon, which has become a dead zone today mainly due to human activity. Now, even though this dead zone is currently useless for us, it might. Living beings, especially burrowing species, can revitalize our history by mixing soil layers while digging holes. Date Jones efficiently manages this process called bioturbation, brings it under control, keeping evidence in soil layers intact for millions of years. Evidence is like synthetics that don't occur naturally. chlorofluorocarbon. This means chlorofluorocarbons, more particularly hexafluoroethane and sulfur hexafluoride, than rare elements such as gold, nickel, platinum, or the radioactive trench-lacking plutonium-244 elements. And curium toothpaste, these things are either artificially made in labs or mined from underground. If things of great quantity are found dispersed in a single layer, it can clearly be a sign of ancient advancement, civilization. So friends, what have we learned so far? Future civilizations will need to focus on 4 major things to prove our advancement. The drop in the C13 isotope compared to C12. Secondly, the presence of oxygen 18 instead of oxygen 16 in oceanic calcium carbonate, which directly means glow in the dark. Oxygen deficiency in minor water bodies was prevalent due to anoxia and the presence of number 4 rare and synthetic elements and compounds in our soil. But wait a minute, all these things have happened in our past too. During the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum era, about 56 million years ago, when Earth was transitioning from the Paleocene to the Eocene era. Back then, the global temperature rose by about 5 to 7 degrees Celsius in just 5,000 years. Many scientists believe that during that time, the Atlantic Ocean was stratified. In the North Atlantic igneous province, some volcanic eruptions occurred and they burned the fossil fuels present in them, which then increased the amount of carbon-12 in the atmosphere, as I say, candidative perspective. But then there are still a lot of things that aren't. During this period, mammals spread across the entire North American continent, and in the sedimentary layers of this period, the concentration of metals was also found to be higher than usual. Is all this just a coincidence? Or it is an indirect proof of the existence of an advanced ancient civilization? Now, esteemed friends, Adam Frank, the proponent of the Silurian hypothesis, has clarified in his article in The Atlantic that it is indeed a hypothesis, which he too proposes. Don't completely agree. It's an interesting way of thinking and deserves further investigation. They just want to say that predicting life on exoplanets solely based on the Drake equation can be entirely misleading. In such a detailed investigation, a paradox also arises that sustainable civilizations which advance in harmony with nature, only the fittest survive longer and their fossil records fade the easiest. A civilization that advances in the most unsustainable way, creating a lot of pollution in the process, eventually collapses. What cannot acclimatize with time, circumstances, is very fragile. It'll become extinct very quickly, leaving no trace of their existence. Well, what's your take, friends? Do you think the Silurian hypothesis could also be an effective method to start advanced life forms? If yes, write in the comments if you don't believe, if you think we should look for extraterrestrial life outside. So yes, comment down below. I believe the chances of intelligent life having existed on Earth before us are very slim, and we should probably look beyond. Please share your opinion below, and if you learned something new from this video, give us a like. Subscribe to the Kokna Get Set Flight Science channel and hit the bell notification so you can catch more interesting and knowledgeable content like this. You never miss a video. As always, friends, stay curious, keep learning and keep growing.